Is this working? Is this on? Hello? Okay, so I believe everything's fine. Okay, so I know in that one video I said that my first topic was gonna be about bands breaking up or not breaking up, but when a group member leaves and how it affects the band, um, success wise, popularity wise, performance wise, stuff like that. But I decided that's going to be episode 2, and that's going to be one I am going to be looking forward to. But this one is going to be for the Backstreet Boy fans. And I know I have a decent amount of those on my channel. So that one, the other topic is going to be, I guess, for episode 2. Because that one I'm a little more, I'm kind of itching to do. But this one is going to be about Brian's voice. Okay, so first off, getting into this, because I don't necessarily talk for long periods of time in my video. This one's gonna be like long periods of time. So I consider myself a little bit of a dude-esque guy, whatever that means to you. And I just mean this in my language. I grew up watching Ninja Turtles. Maybe that wasn't such a good deal, but I find myself talking a little bit like on a dude-esque, kind of a dude-esque level, if you get what I mean. Also, I'm Canadian, so Canadien. I'm not sure if I'll have an accent to you. But I'm from the GTA, so like the accent wouldn't be so different from the standard US accent, I guess. But you might hear some differences, I'm not sure. I do say A, so I don't know. Okay. So we're diving into this. So this is about Brian Litrells' voice, and as some of you know, I'm a big Backstreet Boys fan. I've been a big Backstreet Boys fan since the Millennium album came out. The story about that is when I was in kindergarten. I'm born in '94, so here in Canada, you start school. If you're born in '94, you start school in 1998, so 98, 99. So I started school in September of '98, and so when 99 came around in the springtime, I believe it was a springtime, I Want It That Way hit number 1, I think. No, yeah, I know that for sure. I Want It That Way hit number 1 somewhere around springtime in 99. And my school bus had a radio, and I love the fact that it had a radio because I was introduced to all these songs. So like all these songs from 98, 99 were songs that was made familiar to me because the radio was on all the time. And that was around the time where I started really ingesting music, and even a little bit before that, but because I was listening to this is when I started. What I mean is that this is when I was really starting to listen to radio and like songs of the present time. So I Want It That Way. I Want It That Way played legit every day. It played legit every day. The song hit number 1. It was a big hit in Canada, and the song played every day. And it got to the point where everybody knew the words eventually, and like everybody in the bus was singing it for jokes. I genuinely thought everybody liked Backstreet Boys, but I can imagine that some of the older kids weren't really into it, but they sang it anyway, or perhaps it was a guilty pleasure, or perhaps that it was just they genuinely were fans of the song. But I loved it, man, and like when everybody was singing it on the bus, that was like that gave me such kicks and giggles in there. That was so great. Yeah, and I remember like sometimes I'm like, okay, pipe it down, I'm trying to hear the song, but I hear everybody else instead. And I was just a little guy at the time, so like the speakers were far away because they were on the roof of the bus or whatever. But yeah, man, I Want It That Way played every day. So that's how I was introduced to Backstreet Boys. So I know some of you were probably introduced to Backstreet Boys like the years before, like when they were first introduced. But for me, it was around the Millennium album, and like those are my memories of what they looked like and everything, like how they had their hair and how they dressed at the time. Those were like my memories of them. Anyway, so being a Backstreet Boys fan, I think for the most part, Backstreet Boys fans have a favorite member, and my favorite member was actually Brian, and it remained that way till now. I don't know what it is. I think I liked his voice the best. Actually, when I was little, I wanted Nick to be my favorite, but my twin brother, you guys probably know him. Um, I wanted Nick to be my favorite guy, but Nick was already my brother's favorite guy, so he couldn't be my favorite guy. So I had to pick another favorite guy. I chose Brian because, and I Want It That Way, the music video. If you see the music video, I used to watch the music video on pop-up video back in the day because it played a bunch. And Brian wore a blue jacket, and blue's my favorite color. And so I'm like, okay. I also liked his voice too. I loved his voice. There's something about his voice. Okay, his voice is very clean. It's very graceful. He has great control. He has a great lead voice. And this is something that people have brought the attention to me before, like in the past, that some people can be good singers, but not have what is considered a lead voice. I'm not sure if that means anything to you, but I think I understand what that means. Like some people are good singers, but like they just like carrying the lead, over other people's voices. You can just tell that like somebody else should be positioned as lead. So I'm not sure if that means anything to you, but I think Brian was very much that, and they did utilize that. So Brian Litrell, for the most part, was lead, and in some sense, so to speak, he was the voice of Backstreet Boys. And now this is something that might be a little bit iffy to a lot of people, because Backstreet Boys. This is the cool thing about Backstreet Boys. When you think Backstreet Boys, you take a stranger or a person who like only relatively knows Backstreet Boys. They know the Backstreet Boys as Brian, AJ, Nick, Kevin, and Howie. They know it's those 5 members. They know it's the 5 members that make up Backstreet Boys. Whereas, again, like I don't mean to rub anybody the wrong way. I feel like we live in a day where people get offended easy, but maybe you guys won't. But I think just kind of thinking outside of the box here. I think if you take a person and you talk about NSYNC, a person who would relatively know NSYNC, they're gonna think of Justin Timberlake like above all. I guess it doesn't help that he went off to become a solo act, but even at the time, I think Justin Timberlake was that one guy who stood out. And even though JC Chazé, he shared lead with Justin Timberlake, and arguably he was the stronger singer of the two. I'll leave that up to you guys. But to a lot of people, I think to a lot of people, NSYNC was Justin Timberlake, the other guy, and the background singers. And I mean no disrespect to NSYNC. Obviously, I love NSYNC, and I know that's not the case. Everybody played a pretty cool role in the group, but I think that's how a lot of people might see NSYNC. But anyways, Brian really did carry the group for a big hunk of their career. And things that I can say about Brian's voice, and a lot of people would agree, he was on top of being like a solid singer, he could belt. This guy could belt. This really helped the climax of songs. And having a belter in the group is very, very it's a very good asset, in my opinion. It's kind of like if you don't have one, it's too bad. If I was in a group, I wouldn't be the belter, because I'm a baritone singer. I think I would consider myself a higher end baritone singer because I can reach higher stuff. My voice isn't that deep, but I'm definitely not a tenor. So I cannot reach some of these notes. And sometimes I'll try. Like if you listen to some of my covers, I'll try belting. But let me tell you, sometimes it takes a lot of tries. Work out my voice so it can reach that level. Where Brian, he could do it at any time. This is something that's really, really cool about Brian. During live performances, when there was a belting part, he never passes it up. He always does it. He never breaks. His voice doesn't break when he does it. He's never usually off key when he does it. Just time and time again, he's not afraid. He can just do it. He has a high range. even his like it's something that you can even hear in like people's talking voices. Um, if let's say Boyz II Men is a very prime example. If you hear them talk, even just talk, you can tell what their vocal range is. Like if you listen to Wanye, for example, his voice is like he has the highest talking voice, and he has the highest range. You take Sean Stockman, he would have the second highest range, and even in his talking voice, his range is the second highest natural talking voice. And of course, there's Nathan, considered to be a baritone and very much so, and then of course there's the bass singer. Hey, what's up, y'all? Yo, this is Mike. I'm the bass singer. We belong together, baby. You just see. So you got that stuff, right? You can just tell in their talking voice. So like even with Backstreet Boys, like Brian has, among the group, he has a higher talking voice. So this is something that and I'm going to warn you, I go off on tangents from time to time, but this is something that I think about sometimes. I'll listen to like just people in public, and I'll hear a guy with a higher end talking voice, and I'm like, you know what, that guy might be a tenor. That guy might have a good belt. It's just something that I think about sometimes. I'm like, oh man, that guy, or like a guy with a really deep voice. Like, man, I bet you that guy can go so deep. Like his out of bed voice, man, probably goes so deep. That's something I explore too. Later in the day, I can sing higher. Earlier in the day, when I get out of bed, I can sing and talk lower. So that's pretty cool. I like that's something that I admire being like this baritone range that I am, is that it's not a bad place to be, because I can reach pretty lows, I can reach pretty highs, so it's not like a super bad place to be. And like I said, depending on the time of day, it gets easier for me to hit certain things on either end, low or high. Okay, so anyways, back to Brian's voice. So he was a very strong lead. He could sing runs pretty well too. I know they're a pop group and not an R&B group, so like they kept it a little toned down, I guess. So they sang runs and stuff. They've had a good showcase of skillful singing, I'll say. But of course because they're more or less a pop group, so they're gonna keep it a little more of the default sound, as I like to say. Because that's something that's kind of like a stylized thing, where like R&B, it just fits. Like all these runs just kind of fit in an R&B song, where pop has more of like a structure and a default sound that they have to keep. It's just something about like pop music, which it's not something that should be disrespected. I think it's it's just the style, and I think that's fine. But that's a video for another time, because I know a lot of people, they measure how good a singer you are depending on how good of runs you can do, and to a certain point I believe that too. But anyways, this is about Brian's voice, and I apologize, I do a lot of different I go off on tangents a lot, I think. Even in real life when I'm talking to people. So, okay, Brian's voice. Obviously, the past maybe 4 years or so, Brian's voice has been taking a bad turn. Maybe there's some of you who don't know this by now, I don't know. But, if you listen to Brian sing, his voice is very shaky and kind of out of control. And this is not just his singing voice, but his talking voice too. His voice is shaky, and quite frankly, it's very depressing. It's a very sad thing, man. Like this is his pride and joy. This is what he loves, And I can imagine, they kind of acknowledged this a little bit in their documentary, the Backstreet Boys documentary. Brian carried the group for a lot of years. Again, I'll bring it up again. Each member of the Backstreet Boys really do make up Backstreet Boys. They really do. They really make up for the sound. Each member of the group are very strong singers, but it can't really be argued very much that Brian did carry the group very much. He sang lead like the most. He had a lot of solos, and there were a lot of songs for the most part. For the most part, it was like him. Like for the most part of the song. If I'm thinking about singles and stuff, I think it was like pretty decently evenly distributed. Um, Earlier in the career though, like Brian sang a lot, man. He sang a lot. So this is a kind of a problem. Because Brian he can't really carry the group anymore because his voice is kind of in a messed up state. And man, I hope and pray that his voice gets better. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the situation is, but so I want to bring up some theories, and I want to know what you guys think too, because some people had the theory that, oh, his voice got wrecked because he, back in, was it 2011 or something like that, he developed swine flu, and he was singing during this time period where he should have been resting his throat. Um, I don't really think that's it. I'm not super close-minded, but it could be a possibility. But my personal opinion is I don't think that's what it is. Um, so there's a lot of theories floating around what happened. Here's my own theory, and I'm you know take it as you will. But this is a theory I have. I'm not sure what it is for sure. I really don't know. But this is a theory that I have. So I brought up belting for a reason, and I think possibly his voice got wrecked because of all the belting he did. He lets it rip all the time, and I don't know if there's a specific I assume there probably is some sort of singing technique where belting is like safer to do. Perhaps there's a certain way to belt so that your vocal cords don't get damaged. Um I think possibly his voice got that way due to all the belting that he does. He sings high harmonies a lot too, and he doesn't hesitate to like actually sing them using his chest voice, not his head voice nor his falsetto voice. He will actually sing them because he has that range. He can, and perhaps sometimes he forces it out too much, and it took a toll on his voice. And my personal opinion, a lot of people say, and Brian himself has said that he really started noticing this problem in around the NKOT BSB tour, which started in 2011, I believe. I think I've noticed his voice getting a little bit shaky, like even years before this. Obviously it was gradual and it got worse, but like even when he was promoting his Welcome Home CD, his gospel CD, which is a good CD. I have it. It's really nice. I felt like his voice was getting a little bit weak even there. Like you can tell that it was a little bit shaky, but it wasn't so noticeable back then. But like again, it was very gradual. And then now like to the point like he can't really hide it anymore. But man, it's painful. It's painful to see, and it's also painful to know that this is something that he struggles with. And like that documentary, man, that broke my heart, man. Like he's weeping. This was his gift that he loves singing, man, and like he was so great too. Like, and of course he carried the group, and to a lot of people, Brian's their favorite singer of the group. I think his voice was just so angelic. And of course, like he had a great belt, great control. He could do runs pretty well. So it's a shame, man. It's a shame, and I really hope he's gonna get better. But I have a theory that possibly it's due to these belts that caused his voice to go downhill, and like it messed up his vocal cords. Because truth be told, this is actually a problem that can happen. There is a group, there's a band. Okay. There was a band called, what are they called? Audio Adrenaline. This is a gospel group, by the way. So Audio Adrenaline, they had a lead singer. He was the original lead singer, I believe, and then he retired sometime, like maybe like the last 6 years or something like that. He retired some time ago. And the reason he actually quit the band was actually for a similar thing. I'm not sure if it's the exact same thing. I should have done some research. I could Google it right now if I wanted, I guess. Give me a second. I'm not going to edit this stuff because, like, whatever, man. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up right now. Just type it here on Google. So how are you guys? You guys doing okay? I hope everybody's okay. That's like the number one thing I wish for everybody, that everybody is at least okay. Cause okay, just being okay is so valuable, you know? Okay. I'm on Wikipedia. Okay. Let me look up the guy. Shoot, they have a lot of past members. That's gonna be tough. Is it this guy? I think it might be this guy. I'm not sure. No, yep, it's this guy. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna look up why he retired, because I know. Okay, well, oh man. So he was their lead singer, this guy named Mark Stewart. He was their lead vocalist from 1987 to 2006. That's a decent run. And they can have a pretty rocky sound. So they you can imagine that some of the vocals are pretty like rock like. Let's see here. Let me see. Let me just confirm this. Okay, so this is what Wikipedia says. After more than 20 years of success with the band and 8 studio albums, Stewart and the band decided to retire on January 2006. The primary reason cited that was Stewart's ongoing vocal challenges stemming from vocal cord damage caused by a disorder known as spasmodic dysphonia, not by overuse like was previously thought. There is no definitive cause of this disorder. Many believe it is genetics. Okay, so I was wrong. I was wrong, okay, but I do believe, and I'm pretty sure this is a thing, because it says not by overuse what previously thought, so that leads me to believe that this is a thing. And I think again, this is just a theory that maybe Brian, this is what caused Brian to have some vocal cord issues. But also there is like this spasmodic dysphonia. I don't know if it's the same thing as what Brian has, but there is a condition where it seems like there's a condition where your vocal cords can just do it like for some reason. And in the documentary, the therapist that was helping Brian out, she said that like it's also in the mind. So I'm like, so okay, so this means if Brian thinks about it, his vocals won't come out right. I don't know, that's a tough deal, man. That's a tough deal. Yeah, I don't know. Something to note about Brian's voice. He can still belt. I know a lot of people have noticed that. That he of all things, he can still belt. You know, promoting their song In a World Like This, for example, like when he sings his solo, the "You got me wide open." No, that's not what he's saying. Oh, it's higher than that. Became my salvation through the war. Yeah, you got me wide open. Now I'm sure. Right? You can hear that he struggles with that a little bit. But then when he goes, "In a world like this, we're gonna make it," right? He can do that just fine, man. He does that just fine. He can pull it off, which is really interesting. There is a certain slot. There is a vocal range that he can't do, but there's a vocal range that he still can do. And if you do your research, there are certain songs where he can actually sing decently well. If it's low enough, he can sing pretty well. I'm trying to remember which songs it were. Which were the songs that he could do. Was it Don't Wanna Lose You Now? Was that one of them? I got this feeling you're not gonna stay. It's burning within me. Was it that? The fear of losing, of slipping away. It just keeps getting closer. Was it that? Man, you know what? I don't remember, but maybe a lot of you know, but there are certain songs where like it's at a pitch where he can do, which is very very interesting. So if that helps any thesis or whatever, any thought that could be accumulated, if that can help support anything of why this could be, I'm not intelligent enough on this subject, but if this can help troubleshoot what it could be, like so be it. But that's something that I noticed. Um, you can do your own research and find out what songs these are because I don't remember. But yeah, so there are certain ranges that he can hit. It's just like some ranges that he can't. Like obviously, I Want It That Way is a struggle for him. As Long As You Love Me, and here's something else that he can do. Okay, and you might notice this. He can still sing in falsetto. He can still sing in falsetto pretty well. Obviously, that's not ideal because it's falsetto, right? It's not like your actual singing voice. It's only used for like certain things. Like he would sing As Long As You Love Me This Way, and I'm glad he chose to do that because honestly, it's better. I think it's better. He has more control. It's better that he's singing it that way. Obviously, people will catch on that it's not like his natural singing voice, but I think it's better than him like struggling because he can still go like, I've tried to hide it so that no one knows, but I guess it shows when you look into my eyes, right? Instead of going, I've tried to hide it so that no one knows, but I guess it shows when you look into my eyes, right? You can still do at least falsetto. What you do, you care, I don't care, as long as you love me, baby. Instead of as long as you love me, baby. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. I prefer that he does that, but for lower notes, it just sounds a little bit unnatural. Like if I imagine myself trying to sing "I Want It That Way" in falsetto, like his solo part, that sounds hard. Like you are, how is it? Do 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 do. Yeah, you are my fire, the one desire, believe. When I say I want it that way. That might be the wrong pitch. I'm not sure. But okay, you are. See, I'm already struggling. You are my fire. I can't do it, man. Maybe it's higher than that. You are you are my fire. I think my falsetto voice isn't good right now, but even at that, I know it'd be hard. Desire, believe when I say I want it that way. Okay, that sucked, man. Okay, let me try this again. Let me swallow a little bit. You are my fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way. Okay, bottom line, singing low in falsetto is just harder, at least for me. You are my fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way. Okay, anyways, it's not as good, man. It's just not as good. But it's kind of like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, you gonna do where you have more control, or like, it's a struggle, man. Like it really is. It's a bummer, man. It really is. I hope and pray that he will get better. I don't know what you guys think. Some people say he's getting better. I don't know what to think. There's been times where he sang okay. There's been times where he did poor. And it pains me to know that I've actually seen times where you can tell they just did his voice, like they had him do it in a studio where he did okay or auto-tuned his voice, and like, no, like Backstreet Boys don't need auto-tune, man. They don't, man, and they never did any auto-tune. But like poor Brian, like they're gonna be out in public and people are gonna be like, "What's up with his voice, man? Is he sick?" I think for the most part, that's what people would naturally think. Like, "Oh man, it sounds like Brian's sick." But I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know what other theories there are really, but as far as Brian's voice, one theory is that he is one theory, him belting all the time. Him belting all the time may have damaged his voice. Perhaps he got a genetic thing, right? Just like this guy from Audio Adrenaline. Perhaps he just has a thing. Or there was the swine flu one. So those are like the three. I think those are the three prominent theories that are floating in the air right now. I don't know what you guys think, but I think this is a solid chance. How long is this video now? 30 freaking minutes, man. 30 and a half minutes. Well, dang, man. Anyways, so this is a good solid I think this is a good solid man, have I been blabbing this long? I wonder if there's any bullcrap that I ended up talking about that like really doesn't matter. Okay, anyways, so this is a good solid chance for the other Backstreet Boys to shine, though, to be honest. If you watched the documentary Howie D, right, he was talking about how, like, he was kind of disappointed with how he feels like he didn't get as many opportunities to sing as he could have. And that's just, man. Like, Brian did sing a freaking lot, man. He did. AJ got his fair share. Of course, Nick as well. Nick, Brian, and AJ. Those were like the prominent three. Kevin and Howie. I think this is a good chance for them to step up. Especially because Brian, Brian can't do it anymore. But this is a good chance for Kevin and Kevin and Howie to step up. As far as Brian still being able to sing falsetto, still being able to sing high, he can still do the climax areas where there's some good belting parts. He can still sing in falsetto. So as far as singing like high harmonies, which is often sang in falsetto anyway, if he's doing high harmonies, because he does those a lot. Instead of him singing melody, he can sing high harmonies, and he already does that a lot, like I said. Of course, Howie's singing the highest harmonies. So like Howie over top of him. Brian can still sing some solid high harmonies. So something I'm looking forward to is that on occasion you will hear the Backstreet Boys bring up that they're recording a new album and they're bringing back the harmonies. I'm not sure if they heard like the voices of the fans, especially the kind of fans my brother and I are, and some of you out there. But as far as the harmonies in their latest record, my brother and I, we were kind of disappointed. We're like, you can just tell in the original albums they just tried harder. They really, really did. And then their latest record, like the harmonies weren't even that cool. Like just to be a little bit critical, like I love Backstreet Boys, but man, the harmonies weren't that cool. The coolest arrangement was the actual song In a World Like This, but for the most part, the other songs, they weren't that cool. Not like before. Anyways, so I'm gonna bring this video to a close real soon, but they can still utilize Brian for harmonies until he gets better, and I pray and hope to God that he will get better. But he can still do that stuff. He can still I think they should really work around him. You know what I mean? Like we know this so far, okay? I'm not sure if Backstreet Boys have taken note of this. They probably have. He can sing certain things. He can belt, okay? And he can sing certain notes, and it's usually like lower notes. I think Show Me the Meaning was one of them. So many words for the broken heart. Even that's not that low. You know what, guys, I don't really remember. I'm sorry. But trust me on that. There's certain notes that he can sing pretty well, and it's usually like lower end stuff, but not too low. Of course, Brian, he's a tenor, so he most likely can't sing all that low anyway, but lower stuff. So yeah, this is a chance for Kevin and Howie to step up. I think that's how I'm gonna end this video. I want to know what you guys think. What are your theories? Perhaps it's just a medical thing. Perhaps it's vocal damage. Perhaps it's a swine flu thing. It's just floating in the air. I don't know what to think. I want to know what you guys think. But man, I just really hope he gets better. Anyways, peace and love, peace and love. We'll see you around next time. This video's so long, like, I don't even want to, like, look back and see what I did, hear what I did. It's just like, never mind. Just, I'll upload this. What you get is what you get. Hope you guys think this was interesting. I thought this was kind of fun. I think next time I'll get better, though. I'll get better at doing this kind of stuff. I know, like, I'm stuttering and, like, my thoughts aren't well organized. But anyways, yeah, again, peace and love, peace and love. Till later time.